This is Desert Fox, and this is my review for DmC Devil May Cry. Now, DmC Devil May Cry is the newest in the series of Devil May Cry games. It's actually the first one done by the Ninja Theory company, also known for the game Enslaved Odyssey to the West. Now, first off, to start, one of the good things in the game is that the combat system is very smooth. It seems they got that down very well, which is a feat for them compared to their other games. Kind of had somewhat clunky combat and buggy movement and stuff. And then this game, it seems they really worked on it well. They got down the combat to the point where it's real smooth. It works real well. One of the other good things I think they added into this Devil May Cry game as compared to others is before the mission, you don't have to select the weapons you're going to take in. Like, you can only have these weapons, and that's what you're going to have out through the game unless you get to one of the shops. Stuff can change if you're able to. This one, it allows you to have 3 equipped at a time, but you can just hit up on the directional pad and you can change that type, the gun. You can change to the different type of the gun, or your other weapons which are right on the D-pad or left on the D-pad, and you can change your different weapons. Works this out well because there's different enemies that only this weapon only works against them, and you can only fight them this way with this tactic, which does end up hindering the game somewhat on the higher end toward later into the game, because you'll face one enemy that takes this weakness, but the other one is that opposite of that. So you're trying to work down beating this enemy with that weapon or that type, and then the other enemy can just attack you in the back, or it's like that weapon doesn't affect them at all, or that ability, which can somewhat hinder it. Instead of just creating newer demons and creatures, it feels like that was just somewhat of a shortcut just to throw these two in together instead of just having more of the same. So it kind of feels somewhat of a shortcut instead of creating more unique ones. Also, adding a shield to a demon doesn't make, or another weapon doesn't make it a new enemy. Ninja Theory, that's one of the other things, is they just tend to like, oh, they're stronger now, they have another weapon. It's like, make something newer. But another great thing about the game is the level design. Probably the best thing about the game is the unique level design and stuff. It doesn't make you feel that you're playing. A lot of time hack and slashes, you feel you're playing the same level over again. It's the same thing. They changed it up on Devil May Cry, which was pretty good, to the point where you don't feel like you're doing the same level over and over again. And the surrounding areas and scenes look cool. There's different ones. There's even at one point where you're inside like a TV network, and there's all different ones when you're in limbo, and then there's the real world, and it looks good too and runs well. But then probably the biggest gripe I have with it is, besides what I already pointed out, is the story is not that great. Now, it's not really bad. I mean, there's really bad stories. This is just okay. It's nothing great. It's nothing awesome. I feel that the story will appeal to different people. Some people were like, I didn't like it at all. Some people are going to be, oh yeah, it was good and stuff. This is one that'll be all over the place. Even with scores, I feel, for other reviews, it'll probably all over. Some people really like the game. Other ones will be like, yeah, it was an okay game. And other ones will be like, no. And then, of course, you have the people who are like, oh, I'm not going to play Devil May Cry just because they changed Dante, which they should just play and possibly see the ending. I'm not going to say anything, spoil anything, but it somewhat could not be a reboot if they wanted it to be. But as far as I know, Ninja Theory has said that this is a reboot, that this is them taking on the game, which it is a new company making the Devil May Cry games, and the original creator of the games is no longer at Capcom, so it somewhat makes sense that they're kind of going back. Plus 4 wasn't that great. But those are the things I had to point out the most, is that the combat system works well at times, besides later on with fighting creatures they throw in, like I said, in demons, where they throw in just 2 different ones instead of making a new one. And then there's also the level design, and probably the 2 best things about the game. The story's kind of lacking. The voice acting, it's nothing extraordinary. It's alright. It's not bad, but it's okay, basically. Another thing I have to gripe about in this game is that there's a sequence which it doesn't tell you at all what to do. You wouldn't know unless you go online or accidentally do it, that you have to do something special at this part. This is a previous problem in other Devil May Cry games. This happened to 4. I think it happened to the other ones too, where there's a part and you don't know at all. It doesn't let you know. There's no hints whatsoever about this. They could have it where it was you had to use it before earlier in the game, and you remember, oh, I have to use this again to get past this part to beat this. Use this ability, or they could have it down in the bottom of the screen, be like, use this ability, but they don't, and that's a big flaw. But overall, my review that is that the gameplay is smooth, story is okay, the level design is unique, the demons and different creatures you fight, even at times can also have challenging platforming too, which seems to help and makes it interesting. But the biggest gripes I have about it are the writing, the storyline, and later on levels with fighting some of the enemies and stuff. They could have done more with this game, and it feels like they were somewhat moving in the right path, but they kind of lacked on a lot of things. So, and then overall, it's still a good game, but there was a lot more they could have done with this game. It feels like they worked on more the combat system and platforming, and then writing and the storyline were the second. They were pushed off in the back as compared to other parts of the game, which can make sense too. The game mainly is a hack and slash, but they could have made with a reboot. They could have made an interesting storyline, and they didn't. Especially with someone as Ninja Theory, they could have done a good job of that, and they failed to. It's a mediocre storyline, like I said, and whatnot. Overall, though, I have to give the game a 7.5 out of 10. For more reviews and gameplay content, make sure to stay tuned to my channel.